Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We are live once again from your hometown, Oskaloosa Hy-Vee. I am joined, as usual, to start our show for the Hy-Vee Homestretch with the store director here at Oskaloosa Hy-Vee, Cleet Yorth. Cleet, how's it going?
Wonderful, Emery. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. This is our last show of the month of June, and we, of course, have a dinner. Let's hit on the dinner first. You got about an hour left of it, and it's an American classic.
It is. It's just a half-pound burger with fries for only $5. So it's a huge meal for only $5. I even saw a couple people splitting it.
All right, so there you go. That tells you how much food we're talking about here. On top of that, June has given us a half dozen amazing deals here in the store every day of the month. Just reiterate that because people have just a couple days left to try to capitalize on that.
One evening and one day to stock up on these awesome deals. So we've got General Mills cereal, 6 for $10. Great item for the grill are thick cut pork chops for $1.49 a pound. 5-pound russet potatoes for 68 cents, and a little dessert afterwards, buckets of Hy-Vee ice cream for only $2.99. And then when you're looking to wash it all down, if you like Pepsi products, as many in Mahaska County do, $4.88 for 24 packs of Pepsi products. And then if pop is not your thing, we have Busch Light 24 packs for only $13.99. So one evening and one day still to stock up on those huge deals. And I want to remind everybody to check out our Facebook page Saturday morning, because we're going to announce some incredible budget stretching deals for the month of July.
All right, so just like we saw in May, like we've seen this month, new deals will be in the market for the month of July, which will be coming up here shortly. So as June winds down, I know a lot of people are thinking about, figuring out what they would like for dinner on any given night. And even though it's going to be July, you're still going to have some dinners.
Oh, yeah.
What's going to be the dinner next Thursday?
Next Thursday, we're going back to our half slab rib dinner. So it's a big half slab of ribs with a jumbo baked potato, near sweet corn, and some cornbread for only $8. So it's a kind of a crowd pleaser. It's been one of our most popular dinners. So we're going to run that one again. But we've got a holiday weekend coming up. And so people are going to be stocking up, maybe going camping or just having some gatherings around town. So we've got an awesome sale that's starting tomorrow. We've got a 3-day sale, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A couple of the big items in it. We've got 80% lean ground beef, rolls of that for only $1.48 each. That's maybe a familiar deal to some folks. That was one of ours for May. Ribs for $2.88 a pound, but the big kicker is for every $30 you spend on meat, seafood, and deli, you're saving 25 cents a gallon. So huge, great opportunity to stock up on all the meat that you're going to need for barbecues and parties and all that for the coming holiday.
All right, Cleet, sounds fantastic. I appreciate you joining us once again. Thanks for having us here. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Do the same. See you next week.
Store Director Cleet Yorth here at your hometown Oskaloosa Hy-Vee. We'll take a break. When we come back, we've got a full show for you. We'll talk Oskaloosa baseball with head coach Clint Gingrich, Oskaloosa softball with head coach Jay Harms. We'll also be talking about the strength and conditioning program and their summer programs over at William Penn University with the head strength and conditioning coach at William Penn, John Haugen. First, we're going to talk to the brand new women's golf coach at William Penn University, Chris Pearson, right after the break, right here on the Hy-Vee Homestretch on the No Coast Network.
Hy-Vee has star-spangled savings throughout the store. Get 8 free brats when you buy 8 hamburgers. Hy-Vee buns just 68 cents. Lay's potato chips just $1.48. And don't miss our big 3-day sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Get ground beef only $1.48. Whole seedless watermelons just $1.88 each. And sweet corn 4 for only $1. Plus, earn a 20-cent fuel saver with every $30 purchase of meat. Only at Hy-Vee. If you like to save money and save time, then this is what you'd call a really big deal. HyVeeDeals.com is where you'll find hundreds of deals, all on one mobile-friendly website. HyVeeDeals.com makes saving money easy, with digital coupons, weekly ads, fuel savers, and more. For one-stop savings, start here. Get all the latest deals at HyVeeDeals.com today.
Welcome back in. We are live here with head coach Chris Pearson, a women's golf program. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I talk a lot about the women's golf program the last few weeks, and for good reason. About 2 months ago, you guys were getting really into the home stretch of your season, and you at the time was the associate head women's golf coach.
Yep.
Season wrapped up, another phenomenal year, a 4th consecutive conference championship, a 4th consecutive trip to the national tournament. Didn't necessarily have the finish you wanted down at nationals in Florida, but then something new was coming around. Something new was kind of the topic of discussion at William Penn University. Athletic Director Greg Hafner had retired. Before we go any farther, what has it been like being a part of the William Penn family with Greg Hafner being a part of the head of the athletics department?
I mean, it's been great. I've been fortunate enough to be part of not only the women's golf program, but also the men's basketball program. So working, at my full-time job at Musco and being able to balance everything, and, Greg being open to allowing, assistant coaches to kind of come and go, I guess, as they please, has been awesome. William Penn, great support of the whole sports programs there. The community is really involved as well, so just being part of the community and being able to be a part of it is pretty special. And Greg kind of created that atmosphere, and it's carried on.
A guy who bled Navy and gold, went to school at William Penn, and obviously sad to see him go, but he wanted to do other things, which left an open spot. And we knew it was going to be very competitive from inside William Penn and outside of William Penn to try to get that athletics director position for a school that all of a sudden now is very competitive in athletics, being able to recruit people. The NAIA is very attractive to people who want to kind of lead athletic programs, get a little bit more gray areas to kind of build your programs. Yeah. With that being the case, Nick Rule ends up being named the new athletics director, a guy who was the women's head golf coach and somebody who you had the opportunity to work with closely in that regard. So as the associate head coach with Nick, how was your guys' relationship? That's kind of a system we have seen work very well with Coach John Henry and the basketball team that you're a part of, having an associate head coach that kind of helps with taking stronghold of a lot of the responsibilities. How did that kind of dynamic work with you guys before that announcement?
Yeah, it worked. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, obviously, because we knew it was on the horizon, and we had different scenarios on if it did happen, if it didn't happen, what we were going to do, and it did happen. So we went with that scenario, and we've got another great assistant, Dylan Detweiler, who's stepping into kind of my role as associate head coach. So he'll be there with us. I mean, it was a pretty easy and smooth transition as far as coaching, knowing the girls, knowing what the program's all about, knowing, the foundation of the program, because me and Coach Detweiler have been involved, for the last few years. So, I mean, Coach Rule built it, set the bar really high, and, we expect nothing but to keep that bar really high and keep growing the program in the direction that not only he wants it, we want it, but for the school.
We talk about it, continuity, always really big for a program that was very successful, and for a coach to actually be promoted into an athletics director role like Nick Rule was, for everybody else just to kind of in line be able to be promoted, keeps the kids knowing who is there, keeps the continuity. So this program on its surface, even though you're probably going to change very small things and you might change the way you approach recruiting or something like that, this program for the most part is going to maintain a very similar image to what it has been, an image that winning's the expectation. So from that being the standpoint from your eyes, you've gotten a chance to see these players that you guys have brought in, and how this program has grown from where it was 5 years ago to where it has been now, is now a national power. Take me through kind of the evolution that you've seen from your vantage point from the program.
I mean, I've been around since the program, got started, when Nick kind of took over, and I played with Nick at William Penn, so we've been friends for 10 years. So I remember him struggling through those first couple of years, and he just kept his nose to the grind, and slowly, I mean, he knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. It was a process, and he started getting some girls, and then things started changing, and then now we have 10 to 15 girls that all compete, and it's kind of crazy. 5-6 years ago, it was we had one or two, and then it wasn't great. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. And now we just kept building on getting one or two more, and looking down the road. I think is his biggest. That's always his vision, is 2 years down the road. Stay ahead 2 years, and like you said, nothing drastically is going to change. Why would it? I mean, if it's not broke, I'm that kind of guy. If it's not broke, I'm not going to fix it. There are going to be little minor details here and there that'll change, just because every year things change. But it's just, hopefully we can keep continuing to grow it, and don't fall off. That's that's the biggest thing. Now we're, like you said, 4 years in a row we've won conference, 2 years, the last 2 years of the MCC, and our first 2 years in the heart of America, and that puts a big target on your back. So, we got a good group of girls, and we're gonna keep going.
Talk about the girls this summer. Some of them are around, some of them aren't around. They obviously know of the change at this point, not only with the athletics department, but with the golf program, knowing that now the head coach and the associate coach are still two guys they know very well. They've known since they got into the program. But what's going to be kind of something that you're going to look forward to when the girls move back in August? You got a fall season, not necessarily the most important season. You still like to see what you have for the fall season. How is the team going to approach that as you guys get closer to the end of the summer?
I mean, like you said, we have a few girls that are around. A couple of them work out at the golf course, so we see them out there. Miranda, obviously, is working with you guys, and she's around here working out and getting her summer training on. We sent out packets at the beginning of June, kind of describing what we expected of the girls to do throughout the summer to get them ready, so when they do get here in August, that we're not spending the first 2 weeks retraining their bodies, minds, and everything into drills and just getting set for the season. The fall season, it's not the main season, but it is probably the longer season. There's more tournaments just because the weather's better than it is in the spring. We got, from the end of August to the end of October pretty much that we can golf. Where in the spring we got the end of March to the end of April, and we got about a month, and then we have conference. So, it's a grind more in the fall because you've been going all summer long, and then you just get kind of tired, but you got to push through it and know that the big picture is coming in the spring, and get ready for that. And that's our goal, is just keep pushing towards that peak, and that peak is to be in the spring and not in the fall.
You're in the kind of odd position for being a coach in a program that, even though you're just taking over the program as the head coach, you still have had a hand in helping solidify what the team's going to look like for next year, including the new recruits. Yeah. What kind of players are you looking to bring in this year?
We got 3 girls coming in. We think they'll compete. Freshmen, it's a different game than high school golf. I think a lot of girls, they know it, but they don't really know it till they get here. The course is longer. There's more practice. Practice is more detailed than some high school programs. I mean, it's just a different environment, and that's not golf. I mean, it's all sports. All sports freshmen come in, and it's different when you get to college, and getting them adjusted. We'll do that a little bit, but the girls do an excellent job at that, helping them because they've all been through it. So they help them, with the class schedule, balancing all their time between practice, classes, and anything else that they get involved in. So, we got Madison Lance out of California, which, she's got potential to be a great player. I mean, they all got potential to be great players. Casey Kennedy coming in, she's kind of a unique one because she actually is involved in the World Long Drive too. So she does a lot of that during the summer. And then Katrina Estes out of Michigan, which she started her own golf program at her high school because she moved in and they didn't have one. So she asked an assistant coach, basketball coach, I think, to help out and got it started there. So, I mean, they all know the game. It's just getting them adjusted to the length, like I said, the length and, maybe longer tournaments because we play 2 days, 18 holes, or some we play 54-hole tournaments in 2 days where it's 36 one day and 18 the next. So, those are just little adjustments but they'll get used to, and then they'll be fine, and we expect good things from them.
To take this job, part of it was that you had stepped aside from your responsibilities on the basketball program. Coach John Henry is somebody that, when I talked to Nick Rule about his influences, Coach Henry is a big one for him as well. Mm-hmm. Being able to be a part of that men's basketball program and enjoying that success, having an opportunity to, you say the adjustment is big from high school golf to college golf. Well, I'm sure you see a lot of these guys that you've seen come in on the basketball program have had to make even a bigger adjustment from high school basketball to collegiate basketball. What has that position done for you? How did you kind of come to that decision to kind of step into the head coach role for the women's golf program and leave the basketball behind? Mm-hmm. But also, how did that kind of help mold the kind of coach that you are working under Coach Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I started back here. I was a student assistant for 2 years when I was a student, obviously. And then I came back in 2012. Coach Henry invited me back to, kind of coach his JV team and kind of get that worry out of his mind. And, I was more than willing to come back. And, Coach Henry, I've known Coach Henry for a long, long time. And he has, like Nick, he's impacted our lives a lot, just teaching us how to deal with different varieties of kids, different styles of players, and, when to give them tough love and when not to give them tough love. And, it's helped me understand it, and having kind of that head coaching role to say on the JV level and having my own program and being able to kind of do my own thing.
And with the guys that are having that big adjustment. Yeah,
with the guys having that big adjustment. I mean, it's going to be a little different, but yet the same. I mean, it was different because it was JV versus the varsity now, and now it's on my shoulders. But it's something that I'm embracing, and let's go with it and see what happens.
I'm very excited to see where this goes. Obviously, a program that William Penn, people didn't even know William Penn had a women's golf program, and now it's on the map. Now people are expecting it to win. A deep program. You have actually the two best teams in the conference from the conference results that you guys had from your varsity and your varsity reserve. So we'll be touching base as the season gets started. It'll be fun to kind of follow the adventures of this women's golf program. I know you guys are looking for another top 25 season and potentially a top 10 at nationals next year. But congratulations on the gig. And,
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here on the HyVeeHomestretch.
Thanks for having me.
Chris Pearson, the new golf coach for the women at William Penn University. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Oskaloosa baseball. Head coach Clint Gingrich will join me after this on the No Coast Network.
Hy-Vee has star-spangled savings throughout the store. Get 8 free brats when you buy 8 hamburgers. Hy-Vee buns just 68 cents. Lay's potato chips just $1.48. And don't miss our big 3-day sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Get ground beef only $1.48. Whole seedless watermelons just $1.88 each. And sweet corn, 4 for only $1. Plus, earn a 20-cent fuel saver with every $30 purchase of meat. Only at Hy-Vee. If you like to save money and save time, then this is what you'd call a really big deal. HyVeeDeals.com is where you'll find hundreds of deals, all on one mobile-friendly website. HyVeeDeals.com makes saving money easy with digital coupons, weekly ads, fuel savers, and more. For one-stop savings, start here. Get all the latest deals at HyVeeDeals.com today.
Welcome back here on the HyVeeHomestretch, right here in your hometown, Oskaloosa Hy-Vee. We still have a dinner for about the next 45 minutes that you can come and enjoy. While we talk about that, and you're making your way down here to enjoy that, I'm going to talk baseball, Oskaloosa High School. Coach Clint Gingrich, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me tonight, Emery.
I appreciate you coming back in because now we know a little bit more about your team than we did a week ago. You have mathematically, at least from our calculations, cinched up the #1 seed in District 12 in Class 3A, which involves tricky teams, including Knoxville and Pella, who have both beaten you at least once. You've seen them 3 times. The more you play a team, the better you know. But initially, when you saw that grouping come out, what was kind of the initial reaction, knowing that all 3 of the teams, including Sheraton, are teams that you know pretty well?
Yeah, it's definitely my first thought is everyone knows everyone really well. We didn't play Sheraton a full game, but we played them in the past. We played them in districts in the past. We played Knoxville 3 times, and we played Pella 3 times. And we kind of have a pretty good feel how Sheraton plays. And that was my first thought, is that we know each other well. My second thought is it's tough. It's a tough district. It's a winnable district, but any district's winnable for any team. So it's definitely a district where you got to show up and be on your A game. If you're not, we'll be done early. So, and I'm not worried about that. I know our guys are confident. I know that we'll continue to play good baseball. But it's going to be a tough district, and it's going to be 2 good games. And the team that comes out of that district is going to be a good team, that's for sure.
Well, being the #1 seed, smart money is you guys are going to get to host. We always talk about glitches and weird things that can happen from the state, but being able to do that for another year is important. When you look across to the other sister district and your potential sub-state, teams like Grinnell kind of pops out, a team that you've not had trouble with, but you saw last year, even without really having to sweat too much, they put the pressure on you in that first round of the district. That's a potential sub-state matchup. You have another couple teams that we're not super familiar with on that other side, but what are your thoughts there, knowing that a team like Pella isn't sitting there waiting for you like they have been in the past?
I think Vinton Shellsburg's got a really good record. I think they're 19-2, and that was maybe a week ago, so I'm not sure where they're at right now. But it's going to be a tough 8 teams. You got to beat a good team to get out of districts, and you got to beat good teams to get to state. So we know that it's going to be tough no matter what. But at the same time, I think it's winnable. We need to win 3 games to get to Des Moines, and that's the goal.
When you talk about your team right now, the bats cooled off just a little bit, but it seems like the pitching is kind of tightening up a little bit, which I don't know if you had a preference there of, if I had to give up, a few guys hitting 500 this season for all my pitchers to, locate a little bit better, would you make that trade? I don't know, but you're 20-10 right now, Coach. And we talk about, we always have this conversation, who's the guy that goes in a big game? Yates has pitched very well this year, but Nick Harrington really stepped up. Him and Peyton Krause put together back-to-back gems against Pella earlier this week. What are your thoughts now on where your pitching staff is versus what we talked about a week ago or even in the middle of the season?
Those 3 names are definitely at the top of the list. You got Ryan Yates, Nick Harrington, Peyton Krause. And now that when you look at districts, you can kind of restructure things, and you've got maybe a starter that's now available to close the game. So I'm not exactly sure where we're at right now, but there's definitely Nick Harrington's doing a great job for us and had a huge win at Pella for us in that 2-1 ball game. Peyton Krause pitched a great game up there as well, and Ryan Yates been pitching well for us all year. So those 3 are definitely the top of the list. You got guys that are also stepping up. Charlie Banster stepped up in the last week, and he pitched a really solid outing against Eddyville through 25 pitches. He also finished the game up at Norwalk, and I think Charlie ended up getting the win there for us, and so he's been pitching well down the stretch. That's a guy we could use out of the pen late in the situation. Bennett Spry had a really good outing again in a Saturday game against St. Albert's, and I think we're going to give him a game 2 start tomorrow night against Pella Christian. If we can get him on track here, that'd be helpful for us as well. Come out and throw strikes at the end of a game. So we got options, and it's good to see our guys are getting in the groove of things here. And I think Ryan made a big step forward when he threw a really good game on Monday and Friday of last week for us, and that doesn't surprise me. That's Yates; he's a gamer, and it doesn't surprise me that that Harrington and Krause are going out and throwing good games as well. They're both gamers.
Okay, so with those guys, the walk rate has dropped significantly from what we were talking basically especially when you counted the hit by pitch, is that your team has issued. You actually had more free bases you allowed versus strikeouts. It's no longer the case. The walk rate is going down, and your team ERA is now down to 3.51, which is outstanding. Team defense right around 950 again. The defense has been unbelievable at all positions, and you've been able to plug guys in positions like at first base when Krause is pitching, when Spry's pitching, have to make an adjustment on the infield, but you have movable parts. Keaton DeCock's done a great job when he's been summoned behind the plate. What have you seen from your defense this season, just continuing to continuously be one of the best in Class 3A?
Well, I think you hit on the head there. Keaton DeCock's a huge part of that. When he comes in and catches for us behind the plate, that allows Ethan to move to a corner infield spot when Krause or Harrington's on the mound. So having guys that can step in and play solid defense is huge, and he's a big part of that. And Ethan, he's catching some games for us as well. And then when you got Spry on the mound, Yates steps in at second base. Harrington played a little second base the other night for us as well. And we got guys that we can move around, and when you have that, makes for a solid defensive team.
You talk about the outfield too. Nunikoven has run so many balls down in left field. You also have Seth Sarver, who's just a really savvy center fielder, and Tyler Miller, who's one of the fastest guys we'll see out in right field. You've been able to keep those guys out there because Sarver, among them, probably your best option pitching-wise, and he's maybe your 4th option as a starting pitcher. How do you like that defense in the outfield, and what have you seen from them this year with the amount of speed that they're able to show?
Yeah, they definitely run down balls. I think you were at Grinnell when Tucker had 2 outstanding catches in the outfield there, and those were huge pivotal catches at the time that he had those. Seth's doing a great job for us at center, Tyler in right, and then when we do bring Seth in on the mound or Tyler, you got guys like Cole Kraber or Charlie Banster that can fill in the outfield for us out there. So we've got options there as well. Keaton DeCock's name came up for when you start moving things around the infield. We've got Cole Kraber and Charlie Banster that can step in and play a solid outfield for us, and I don't really feel like we lose much when those guys are out there as well for us.
Fun to talk about that, but a lot of people say the best part of the game is when they get to see their kids go to the plate. This season, Tyler Miller is still unbelievably batting .468 with an on-base percentage over 500. We talked about it last week. We talked about the unsustainability of that for a freshman. A lot of bunt, a lot of infield hits, but he's a freshman. How is he finding these holes? What have you seen growth-wise from him still, as the season is getting to the very end of the regular season, still batting as well as he is?
I think it's his demeanor, his approach at the plate. He's come up and had some huge clutch hits for us when we really needed runs late in the game at Pella Christian. He had a big hit for us there, and there was a home game the next week. I think it might have been against Newton. I'm not sure, or DCG. I think it was against DCG. He tied a game up there as well for us. So, it's his approach. He's got really good hands, quick hands. He gets through the ball and keeps the ball up the middle of the field, and short, simple to the ball. Look. He's a contact guy right now. He's got the capabilities of driving the ball as well, and I think as he gets older, we'll see more of that out of him, driving gaps, and he's got quick enough hands to drive a ball as well.
Kind of sneaking up on us right behind him in the batting order recently has been Tucker Nunnekoven, and he's batting almost 400 now. He's at 394 on the average on the season, 433 of the on-base percentage, and he's turned into a doubles machine too. He's finding gaps. He uses his speed. It's a guy a lot like Miller that you're able to use on the bases. He's stolen 14 of those this season. Offensively, last year, there was a couple of weeks where he was just white hot. You couldn't get the kid out, but just the consistency was missing. This year, it seems like he's kind of crescendoing. He's getting better as the season wears on. At the plate, what have you seen from him this year?
I think it's his approach. He's laying off pitches that he has a hard time hitting, and that's basically for all our guys too, but Tucker's done a nice job. When we start to swing at pitches that are high in the zone, that's a pitch that we're going to pop up and make outs on. So when we can have a good approach and get pitches that we can handle and execute and drive those balls, that's when he's his best, and he's really maturing, and that's exciting to see, as in his junior season, maturing as a hitter, and he's still got a year left with us.
All right, Bennett Spry, a senior, batting third in terms of batting average at 337 from the list that I have here, a reliable guy. But the guy who you skipped to get to him, that I skipped to get him, is the guy we talked about last week, and that's Seth Sarver, a guy who last year was, you don't want to say he was a liability at the plate necessarily, but he was a pitcher and an outfielder first and foremost for your team. And this year, batting in the same number 9 slot, he has been unbelievable, and he's still consistently putting the ball in play. 418 the average, 505 still his on-base percentage. He's got 3 home runs this season. He's leading your team in RBI with 28. I struggle to be able to explain to people what the growth has been from his junior year at the plate to his senior year at the plate. You've coached him since he's been in high school. What have you seen from him going in from his junior year, where he showed some serious struggles at the plate, to now where he is still batting well over 400?
First, it's confidence. I definitely see that he's a more confident hitter. He's a confident player. But he's also put a lot of work in the offseason, and because of that, that gives him confidence, I think, to relax at the plate, and he makes adjustments quicker, that's for sure. He's battling with 2 strikes, he's fouling off pitches, he's getting his timing down in the middle of an at-bat, whereas last year he struggled to do with that. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. He worked really hard in the offseason. He's just kind of got that mentality where he's not gonna back down. He's gonna continue to fight, continue to scrap at the plate, and you see that as an outfielder. You see that when he's lifting weights in the weight room. He's gonna get through his reps, and so that doesn't surprise me at all that that's carried over into his at bats. He's kind of got that calm, quiet demeanor where he just goes about his business, and it's just good to see a kid put the work in and see him be successful because of the work he's put in.
JV team for Oskaloosa has also had a very good year. Coach Bill Allman, Chris Arnold, Scott Van Veldhuizen, these are guys that really help this program, and you talk about it, we talked about it last year too, that just having some eyes that can also help some of these guys continue to develop. And you can see with the numbers and the way that these kids have grown, all of them have gotten better as they've gotten older with this program. So if you had one thing, as you sprint to the end of another very successful season, what is one thing you'd like to see the screws tighten up just a little bit before you get into the games that really start mattering in the next couple of weeks?
I think down the stretch here, we just need to really dial it in and really be focused and bring that high energy to the ballpark. It's not something where we can flip the switch on come first round of district game and be there. We need to be doing that, and we've seen glimpses of it throughout the season. We've had some great come behind wins where kids they definitely believe we can win no matter what the score is. We just need to make sure that we're really dialing it in, really focused, and not taking anything for granted, and executing at the plate and executing the field, and working ahead, throwing strikes, not giving guys free base. There's lots of little things you can do to definitely help you win a game. So we just need to continue, like you said, tighten the screws. And I think in the next week here, I think there's some small things that we'll continue to iron out, and hopefully by the middle of July we're ready to roll. And I know our guys will be mentally ready to roll. We just need to make sure that we're really executing, firing on all cylinders.
Coach Gingrich, always fun to follow your baseball team. Tomorrow night, your guys' doubleheader at Pella. We'll have that on our airwaves on KMZN, and we'll be seeing you then. But thanks so much for joining us on HyVeeHomestretch.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate your support.
That is Coach Clint Gingrich, Oskaloosa High School baseball head coach. We'll switch over to the softball side after the break right here on the HyVeeHomestretch, as Coach Jay Harm's going to be joining me for Oski softball on the No Coast Network.
Hy-Vee has star-spangled savings throughout the store. Get 8 free brats when you buy 8 hamburgers. Hy-Vee buns just 68 cents. Lay's potato chips just $1.48. And don't miss our big 3-day sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Get ground beef only $1.48. Whole seedless watermelons just $1.88 each. And sweet corn, 4 for only $1. Plus, earn a 20-cent fuel saver with every $30 purchase of meat. Only at Hy-Vee. If you like to save money and save time, then this is what you'd call a really big deal. HyVeeDeals.com is where you'll find hundreds of deals, all on one mobile-friendly website. HyVeeDeals.com makes saving money easy with digital coupons, weekly ads, fuel savers, and more. For one-stop savings, start here. Get all the latest deals at HyVeeDeals.com today.
Back here on the HyVeeHomestretch, you still have about a half hour to come enjoy the fantastic half-pound burger meal with fries, only $5 here at Hy-Vee in Oskaloosa. While you're coming down to do that, I'm going to talk Oski softball with Jay Harms, coach for the Oskaloosa softball team. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Emery.
Okay, so Coach, let's talk about your softball team at this point of the season. This is a team coming off of a state championship in 2016. We talked about the ability that this team was going to have even coming back for this season, and the expectations of being the #1 team coming into the year, and then injury after injury after injury after injury. And here we are. We're still sitting well, positioned very well. You're in the top 5 in the state still, having won, I think, 25, 26 games on the season, having lost less than 10. At this point, knowing the luck that you've had, are you pleased with how your girls have played, knowing you've basically had to piece together lineups for sections of the season?
Well, sure. I mean, going the season, we thought we were pretty set. Only lost to 2 starters off last year, and we knew that we were probably going to slide Anna from right field to center field and stick a new right fielder in there. And we had a couple options that we were thinking about, going with, and we thought we were pretty solid in the infield, except who's going to be the shortstop. And we didn't know who was going to be there, but of course, in the end, an 8th grader steps in and just has done a phenomenal job there, for us this season. And of course, we didn't think we were going to lose Alexis Westerkamp behind the plate, 5 games into the season, and have to make a change there behind the plate as well. But everything has gone, pretty well, Emery, concerning what we've gone through this season with injuries.
This has been one of the more interesting teams to follow this season. I pay attention to all the teams in the area, and of course I broadcast Oskaloosa. I don't get a chance to broadcast a lot of them, but seeing the different amount of players that have gotten big time playing time at the varsity level, and some of the random stats, the Kaylee Johnson 2 home runs thing is just one of the most, the crazy anomalies. But when you look at your team, the one thing that just stands out is, who is Maddie Haynes? At the beginning of the season, I saw her lined up to play shortstop. I didn't know who she was. I was like, well, let's see what she does. She looks like she's got a slick glove. Eventually, she starts batting, and she's kind of moved up in the batting order. And the next thing I know, I look at the stats here: 381 the average, 480 the on-base percentage, 5 doubles, 2 triples, 5 home runs, and she's tied for second on the team with 24 RBI. She's walked more than she struck out as an 8th grader in this conference. Can you try to tell me who Maddie Haynes is?
Well, we watched Maddie play in middle school ball, and we thought that she was going to be a player. We didn't know how soon she'd be a player at our level. In fact, we didn't really use her early in the season. We tried some different people at shortstop. And there just came a time that actually she was a second baseman all through middle school, never played shortstop. So in practice one day, just put her at shortstop and tried some things, with her, and we liked what we saw. And we gave her a start, and right away we noticed that she's very disciplined to plate. For an 8th grader, she has a great eye, as you mentioned about her walks that she has. I think she probably leads the team in walks, and And then all of a sudden, her bat started coming around, and she started catching up, to the pitches where maybe she wasn't quite there early in her first at bats. But yeah, she's just stepped in and done a great job as an 8th grader, feeling wise, hitting wise right now. She's really seeing the ball well, and she's doing a great job at the plate.
You look at those numbers, Coach, and if that's Aubrey Miller's line for the season, I'm not surprised. This is an all-state caliber type line that she's got, and you still have Aubrey Miller. And Ava Vanderwall as a freshman is hitting very well for you. You can keep going. Taylor Wills is batting almost 400 on the season. She was leading you in average for the first half of the season, and she wasn't a full-time starter. Josie Bennell's, when she's hitting the ball well and she's hitting it hard, she finds the gaps and she can use her speed. Anna Jones still really hasn't gotten going this year after missing a couple of weeks. So it's not as though Haynes has been the standout. She's definitely surprised people from where she's at, but the players that came back from last year, the players that you've seen grow from being 8th graders to what they are now, this team is very potent offensively. What has been your challenge trying to piece together the lineup, knowing you've had the injuries and trying to put the players in the right position so you can maximize your run production?
Yeah, you mentioned those players, right there, and they're just all a piece of the puzzle that we have for this year, and that's been great, because you mentioned a lot of players there, and they've all had great games hitting the ball for us. Defensively, at times, we've struggled. We've had a few more errors this year than we had last year. We've struck out probably more this year than we have last year. But again, we had a lot of young kids that we put in there, and I think they've gotten better and better as the season's gone on. So, we at times don't look very good at the plate against a little pitcher that maybe throws a little slower and throws a little junk at us. We're way out on our front side, and we've tried to really work hard on that with the kids because that gives us the most trouble. I think that we hit fastballs well. But we've got to be able to learn to keep our weight back and keep it balanced. And, if we do that, we think we're a pretty good hitting ball club. And if we hit the ball, we score runs, we're pretty tough to beat.
You got some options off the bench as well. Just being able to, if somebody's not feeling good at the plate, you can tell late in the innings. You have players like Kaylee Johnson that might get summoned into a ball game to maybe get a chance to swing. So we talk about this, and the backbone of any good softball team is what is done in the circle. And Alexis Groot being at your fingertips the last 4 years, he was the captain on the All-State Tournament team after you win the state championship last year. This season, a lot of physical question marks coming in, but she has performed 18-6 the record, a 1.78 ERA, 156 opponents hit against her, 206 strikeouts and only 50 walks and 150 innings of work. So you're getting, for the most part, what you were expecting out of her, but she's a little dinged up now, much like she was at about this time last season. How, knowing what happened last year, knowing that she still missed a couple of weeks at the end of last season and came on and still was able to perform when you went to, the state tournament like you saw there, how are you kind of handling the same kind of situation knowing that this year?
Well, we'll know more tomorrow. She goes back for another reevaluation tomorrow and gets reevaluated, and we'll know when we go to Iowa City what her status is going to be for the weekend. Wouldn't surprise me if they shut her down, for the weekend, so we don't know if we're going to have her or not. But if we don't, again, we're just going to have to go with our pitchers that we have and go against the big 5A schools in Iowa City and do the best that we can. But I told our kids today, I thought last year that was maybe a turning point for us going up there without her. And all of a sudden, we went up there and we competed without our best pitcher, and we played everybody close. We went 1-3, but we played the West Des Moines Valley and the Pleasant Valleys, Cedar Rapids Kennedys, who were ranked in the top 5, close ball games. So I think that really brought our team together last year, and we hope that she's able to throw. Got a little soreness in her bicep, right now, and we hope that she'll be able to get back and throw some before tournament time. Because she came back last year a little rusty that first game against Clear Creek, and that was a tough ball game because they were about 7 outs away from upsetting us in that game until our bats really came alive. And of course, then we kind of exploded and won that easily. And then of course she threw the great game against Mount Pleasant, in the regional finals to get us a state tournament. So we'd like to get her a little bit of work before then, but we'll just we'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll be ready to go.
This year, we talked about it, you had to make that adjustment into being a doubleheader team all of a sudden after a couple of years with the Little Hawkeye, did not play any doubleheaders. And you talk about these tournaments that you have 4 games in 2 days, especially when you're going to Iowa City to play 3 of your 4 opponents that are ranked in the top 10 in Class 5A, very good teams. And your number 2 pitcher, replacing Kylie Silliman, who was in that role last year, is an 8th grader again. Her name, Haley Hacker. She's pitched in 10 games this year as a starter, and her numbers are actually very good. She's had a couple of tough starts, but 7-2 the record, 3.95 the earned run average, and again, she's had a couple where teams really kind of battered her around a little bit, but still opponents batting only .230 against her, 29 strikeouts in 55 innings. She has walked 24, but as an 8th grader and a lefty, what have you seen in her? Because it seems like she, much like a lot of these other younger players, has gotten better as she's gotten a chance to play.
Yeah, you know, she got her feet wet early. Wasn't probably the way that she really wanted, especially when we think back like at DCG that night, and that was a long, long night for her.
I think Norwalk was a tough one for her too.
Yep. So, you know, it's a learning experience, but she has gotten better. She's got more control of her pitches now than she had earlier in the year. Her ball moves. You know, she's a lefty, and of course lefties can't throw the ball straight anyway if they try. But yeah, her ball does tail a little bit. So she stepped in the other night and just threw a phenomenal game against Eddyville. Of course, we were able to score runs, which makes a huge difference. But yeah, she threw well against a very good hitting ball club. So she's had some very good outings. She'll get a lot of work this weekend in Iowa City, and she's just going to get better and better.
That's exciting knowing, because we talked about it. The back-breaking loss is the one of an ace pitcher, especially in softball where you can throw so many girls. But she's not the only 8th grader that you kind of have in queue. Just thinking about the future for pitching, Abby Brondemeyer also is going to be in line to maybe split a little bit of time with Haley as the number 2 pitcher, but she kind of got dinged up as pitching for the JV team. But these girls are able to get reps at that JV level. What are you seeing in Brondemeyer, and who are some other girls that you're thinking, because I know it's not limited to just that you might be able to use in the circle moving forward?
Well, again, you know, we even started Josie, who threw last year for us, Vanell. We had her throw today in practice, and she's been throwing just a little bit now because of, we don't know Groot status. And if we go to Iowa City, we have to have pitchers. We just have to have arms. So we got her going now a little bit too, and Hacker. And of course, Bronmeyer's been released now. She's back throwing a little bit. So we'll kind of limit her pitch limit a little bit and her innings that she'll throw, but she gets us another arm as well. So hopefully we're going to be okay, that we can get through and as I said, get Groot back, and then be ready to go for tournament time, because that's getting close.
That's actually a week from this coming Saturday. You'll play your first game, and you're going to play either Washington or Central DeWitt. Washington gave you a little bit of problems. It was early in the season, no less, but still a team that knows you well, a team that you know well. That matchup favors Washington, obviously, but I know you're paying close attention to both of those teams for that first round matchup next Saturday. Take me through what your thoughts are on the bracket itself and what you are thinking that first matchup at home.
Yeah, you know, we think probably Washington's going to come out of there. I think Central DeWitt's only won like 5 games, and Washington's over 500, and they play in a pretty good conference. You know, the Southeast 7 down there with Fairfield and Mount Pleasant, and you know, those schools, Fort Madison and so forth. So that'd be a tough ball game for us. The thing I remember about them when they played us, especially when they beat Groot, is that they really battle at the plate. They're not going to give up on pitches, and they're just going to make that pitcher work. And she threw a lot of pitches that night. She'd get ahead 0-2 in the count, and before you know it, it's 3-2, and they're falling off 4 pitches in a row and trying to win the battle. So they're very impressive from that standpoint. They didn't make mistakes. They played very well in the field. Pitching-wise, not real strong, but again, kind of one of those pitchers that moves the ball around, changes speeds a little bit, that can give us some problems, you know. And we went through part of the season here where we left a lot of runners stranded, and we didn't win close games. And last year, you know, we seemed like we did those 2 things well. We won all those close games, and we got runners on. We always came through with the key hits. So our bats have been good here recently. We're seeing the ball well, and all of a sudden they've really come to life. So we just hope that we keep stringing those hits together and you know, get the good pitch in. And of course, we've got to play well in the field if we want to be competitive, and if we want to keep winning and go where we want to go.
That would lead to a potential regional final. I know you want to take it one game at a time, but the other team with the bye is Burlington, a team that's ranked just outside the top 10 in the latest rankings, but a team that's new to Class 4A, a team that typically is a ranked team, whether they're in 5A or 4A. New opponent for you, potentially sitting there in the regional final, but what did you think on that end of the bracket, who you got paired with?
Well, it'll be a new opponent, you know, coming up here in 4A, but when we were the smallest large school in the state, we played Burlington quite a few times at Ottumwa in regionals back then, and Coach Heath is still coaching, so I've known Larry for a long time as well. And the thing about them right now, they got a couple girls that run very well, handle the bat very well. They got a couple girls that can swing it. Pitching-wise, again, not real strong, kind of what we faced against some of the teams. But again, they do not make mistakes. They're very solid in the field. So that'd be a tough ball game for us. But again, we like the odds that it's at our place, and so we're looking forward to hopefully getting through our side, and then whoever it is on the other side, we don't really care. We just want to take care of business and play our kind of softball, and we think that we can do that, and hopefully good things will come for us again this year.
Yeah, you talked about it earlier this season. The #1 goal is get a chance to go back to Harlan Rogers Park, have a chance to defend our state championship up there among the final 8 teams in our class. So I'll ask you the same question I asked Coach Gingrich for the baseball team. If there's one thing that you'd like to really tighten up before we get into those games, I know you only have this weekend and then the makeup game against Indianola next week to kind of do that, but what are you looking to see tighten up a little bit before you get into those postseason games?
Well, I think, what we've seen in the last couple of weeks has been, especially the last week, and that is putting the bat in the ball. I think we have been striking out way too much this year when we had runners in scoring position and not putting the bat on the ball. So hopefully that's going to continue. Like we did a great job against Pell in the second game over there, and against Eddyville the other night. I thought we really did a much better job with the bats. So I think that's the biggest thing right now, is that we just got to compete in every battle at every pitch and every time at the plate, and try to make something happen with the bats. Because we feel if we can get Groot 3 runs, I think that we're in pretty good shape. So that's a real key for us.
Coach Jay Harms, as always, fantastic talking to you. Congrats on another fantastic season, and very important, Oskaloosa gets to host those 2 regional games.
Yeah.
So once again, congratulations. We'll be checking back in with you next week.
Okay, thanks a lot, Emery.
All right, that's Coach Jay Harms, Oskaloosa softball. When we come back, we're going to talk William Penn University strength and conditioning. John Haugen is with us when we return on the Hy-Vee Homestretch on the No Coast Network.
Hy-Vee has star-spangled savings throughout the store. Get 8 free brats when you buy 8 hamburgers. Hy-Vee buns just 68 cents. Lay's potato chips just $1.48. And don't miss our big 3-day sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Get ground beef only $1.48. Whole seedless watermelons just $1.88 each. And sweet corn 4 for only $1. Plus, earn a 20-cent fuel saver with every $30 purchase of meat. Only at Hy-Vee. If you like to save money and save time, then this is what you'd call a really big deal. HyVeeDeals.com is where you'll find hundreds of deals, all on one mobile-friendly website. HyVeeDeals.com makes saving money easy, with digital coupons, weekly ads, fuel savers, and more. For one-stop savings, start here. Get all the latest deals at HyVeeDeals.com today.
Back here one final time with my final guest of the evening on the Hy-Vee Homestretch. I am joined by John Haugen, who is the head strength and conditioning coach at William Penn University. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We had you on a few weeks ago. We kind of talked about how you wrap up the school year. Now you're in the dog days of summer, but the way William Penn works, there's still a lot of kids that are hanging out on campus. So how has that organization been, knowing that you don't have full teams, but you still have athletes that are looking to try to get some work in?
Yeah, so we've got about 55 to 60 athletes on campus, and a plethora of different sports are represented. We've got, I think, 25 football players, 6 or 7 volleyball, and then we've got a 3 o'clock group in the afternoon. And it's really neat because in the weight room we've got, I think, 6 different teams represented at that time and about 25 athletes in there. And so as far as what we've got going on in the summer, we've got, again, multiple sports, and those multiple sports are at different times in their year. So we've got our fall sports that are going in their preseason phase, so we're trying to prep them for season. We've got some spring sports that are in their postseason phase, so we're trying to kind of regain any imbalances they might have from the season and then start to prep them for the fall when they'll begin their off-season program. And then winter sports are kind of in the middle of their off-season. So we've got a lot of different things going on, a lot of different training styles, because all those sports are in a different time of year. And so it's really neat because we've got a lot of athletes from different teams working together, and it's kind of neat to see the William Penn athletes in there and from different sports working together for the same purpose, to have success. So
success is one thing. We'll talk about success. Got a new athletics director, John.
Yeah.
Greg Hafner did a fantastic job as the athletics director at William Penn University. He retires. It was kind of a 2-year plan for him, and he did unbelievable things as a Navy and Gold alum. then Nick Rule gets the job, women's golf coach, somebody who knows the university just as well. Everybody at the university knows him. What was that transition like in your department, knowing that somebody from within William Penn was still going to be the athletics director?
Yeah, obviously we have a great working relationship with Nick because the women's golf, they work with us a lot. And we knew him from his head coaching standpoint, as well as just knowing Nick. And the neatest thing about Nick, and the first thing that comes to mind with me, is passion. He's passionate about William Penn and wanting to see William Penn succeed and wanting to see William Penn grow. And so for us, we were obviously excited that Nick is going to lead the charge for us. And as strength and conditioning department, our process and our mindset is always trying to find new ways to grow and create more success, and I think he's a guy that's got that same mindset, and so we obviously were excited to see that he was our new leader.
One of the more popular graduate assistance programs that are within the athletics department involves your department. You get a lot of GAs that come in as they're working on their master's degree. You get a chance to kind of teach them the ropes with hands-on experience. How does that go about? I know it matters how they did in their undergrad so they can get accepted into the program, but in terms of meeting them and trying to teach them what you know so they can move on to the next level and be somebody who can be on a show like this and explain what programs their school's going through, how does that dynamic kind of work with these kids that come for a couple of years?
Yeah, so the biggest thing we look for is we want previous experience, and a lot of times that's in an unpaid internship that they did during undergrad. We've been very fortunate. We've had great GAs, and the biggest thing we look for, honestly, when we're hiring is good people. We can teach them the strength conditioning aspect, but we just want good people that are open and willing to learn and have that growth mindset. So if they've got some good experience with that, that's only an added benefit for us. And so a lot of what we're doing is when we bring them in, we sit them down, we kind of go over our expectations, but we also go over the various ways that we want to do things. And we've got a good program and kind of a good system in place that allows them to gives them guidance, but also allows them to kind of learn by being thrown in the fire. And that's the difference in a lot of graduate assistant programs at other schools is they don't necessarily get the same hands-on experience. Our graduate assistants are working with multiple teams at the high schools, they're working with multiple teams on campus, and they're able to not only just program and train them, but also they're communicating with the sport coach, they're communicating with administration, they're setting schedules, which again, you don't get at a lot of different places, and so they're very well prepped to handle what I do on a daily basis when they leave here.
You say that, you mentioned the high schools. That's something that I think Oskaloosa High School is really enjoying now, is the fact that the standards that you guys are bringing in there as a department to help them. We've seen kids go to Pella High School and work with them. So how does that relationship work with these high schools and the time management with trying to get their programs up to speed while also at the same time getting that hands-on work for your graduate assistants?
Yeah, so the high schools, I kind of oversee the contracts and that type of stuff, and then they handle the day-to-day operations. So they're communicating with their coaches, they're setting the weight room schedule there, they're communicating with their administrators as far as, during the winter when there's early outs because of snowstorms or delays and those types of things. So it's great hands-on. That said, they're young, so we have to prep them, and it's an ongoing process. The nice thing we've had is we've always had smooth transitions because we'll have 2 to 3 people at each school, and there's always that veteran person that kind of leads the way for the other people when they come in. And so it's just a cyclic type of process where this person is working under another person for a year, and then they'll move up into that situation. And so it's a really good process. And then we actually added Linville-Sully School this summer. And so having these 3 high schools, it's a great opportunity for them because I always tell them, working with high school kids, they're in a very big learning stage. Not that we can't still teach college athletes things, but at the high schools, they're in an earlier learning stage, so we can accomplish more with them. And I always say, when we get recruits in at William Penn and they come on campus for the first time, all the things that we maybe see wrong with them or things that we need to correct, let's try to correct that at the high school so when they go on to college, whether it's here or somewhere else, their strength coaches don't have to correct those. And so, yeah, it's a really good situation for them because it's an even more hands-on experience. As far as juggling the two, they do a great job of it. It is a lot of responsibility for them, but they kind of know that comes with the territory and the learning experience of it.
All right, so you talk about these. William Penn is making a big footprint at these schools with recruiting for their sports. Linville Sully has sent plenty of great kids, notably Sage Erisman recently into the football program, who got plenty of playing time as a freshman. Nate Van Veldhuizen from Oskaloosa, among several, Mason Wissey as well. Oskaloosa kids that are playing at a high level in these programs. Do you kind of view this as an opportunity also to introduce the William Penn way to these high school kids while they're still kind of developing their athletic ability?
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to when I hire, just hiring good people. When we go out into these high schools, our coaches are a representation of William Penn and how we want things done and what we want. And we're really taking our model at William Penn and obviously switching some things geared more towards a younger athlete at the high school level. But it's really the way that we do things at William Penn. So I think some of those high school kids get a good sense of what it's like for our William Penn athletes, and I don't think that's ever a bad thing. That's probably a good thing as far as when it comes to recruiting and the sport coaches contacting them for their specific sports. It comes down to relationships, and our coaches, when they go out there, I tell them, I want you to have a good relationship with the coaches there. I want you to have a good relationship with the athletes, the administration, not just for a recruiting purpose, but having a good relationship allows more things to get done, and so I think the relationships we've developed with the parents, the coaches, and the athletes has been a big plus for William Penn from a public relations standpoint as well. Yeah.
Awesome dynamics that you have for a program that gets a chance to touch every athlete that comes through William Penn's doors. The athletes that we're going to be paying the closest attention to in the next couple of months are going to be the fall sport athletes, namely football, volleyball. You have some fall golf that'll also be occurring, among others. Bowling, obviously, also a sport that goes on at William Penn. But you get a chance to kind of turn the page as all the athletes come back in August. What is the agenda from the weight room standpoint on how things kind of really accelerate, knowing that now you're going to have full teams at a time that you're going to be wanting to work out as they move back in early August? Yeah,
so early August we'll get all of our fall sports. Things really start to pick up. We'll do a lot of different things. The soccer teams we'll do a lot of recovery sessions with. They'll be doing a lot of running, a lot of practices. So for us, with them, we try to help them recover so they're more prepared for the next practice the next day. With football, we'll go through some testing and conditioning tests with them, and then they'll train 2 days a week during camp. And then same thing, we'll kind of help with that recovery process between practices. Volleyball, we do a recovery session every single morning with them before they practice to kind of help get their body ready for however many practices they have, sometimes 3 in a day, as well as they'll lift twice a week in that camp phase. And then as we progress throughout August and the rest of the teams start to come on campus, we're going to have our winter sports, basketball, wrestling, they're going to go right into their off-season programs. So, they'll hit the ground running right away. Our spring sports, notably, baseball, softball, and the golfs, they're going to be having their fall season. So that's a trickier one because they're in their fall season. So we don't hit a true off-season program, but we also want to get their feet moving and get them going as far as strength conditioning is concerned. So we kind of hit more of an in-season style training phase, and then as soon as their fall season is over, then we'll hit an off-season phase. So same as we've got going right now. We've got a lot of different dynamics going on in the weight room during the summertime. We'll continue that as the fall goes because they're just kind of morph the seasons that they're in. But yeah, we're excited. Right now 50 to 55 athletes on campus. It's fun to work with them, but obviously the more athletes that get back on campus, the more exciting it gets for us. And we've actually got this summer, we've got a new program that's all app-based. So all of our athletes have an app on their phone that they can actually see the workout on their phone. We can track their progress as they do it. So the old paper and pencil days are kind of gone, and we can actually have better communication with them over the summer, even if they're at home, and it helps us track where they're at so we have a better idea when they come back in the fall.
It sounds like it's going to take crazy organization to keep track of all of that, but sounds like something, especially when you look at the success rate, something that is definitely working for William Penn. John, thanks so much for joining us. We'll have you on before those kids come back one more time and just solidify exactly what we're going to be seeing from these athletes, because it's a cool behind-the-scenes program that people don't really know about.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That is Coach John Haugen, the head coach in the strength conditioning program for William Penn University. And that'll wrap up our show. I'd like to thank John, as well as Clinton Gingrich of the Oskaloosa baseball program, Jay Harms of the Oskaloosa softball program, and new William Penn women's golf coach Chris Pearson. We'll have a fresh show for you next week, and as well as a fantastic dinner here at Hy-Vee, so you're not going to miss that. For everyone here at the No Coast Network, we appreciate you for joining us. I'm Emery Sunger. This has been the Hy-Vee Homestretch live here on the No Coast Network.